Hey everybody out on Facebook, how are you today? This is Sean. Hey, first of all, thank you for those of all of you that have been tuning in and viewing some of the other videos that we've done. Fireside Chat's been a lot of fun. Hope that we can continue doing those. Want to try to have fun with those a little bit, still have a good message, and then balance that with a few of these each week. More sessions like this where I'm going to talk strictly more content to hopefully help out. So with that, I want to welcome those of you that might be watching this at a later time. I get it that some people dial in and view real time, and then there's others that hop on whenever they can, given that I'm doing this within work hours. So you may be in the office working and not able to join in the middle of your workday. So today what I want to talk about is I want to talk about health and wellness a little bit, and I want to talk about it as it pertains to each of us in terms of our personal fitness and wellness. And I also want to put it into the context of your organization, whether you are a small business owner, whether you work for a large corporation, whether you happen to be in network marketing. So be it a large corporate team, be it a department, be it that you've got a handful of your own employees, or whether you have a downline team in a network marketing space, we're going to talk about all of that, okay? So first, starting with kind of the personal fitness piece. For me personally, I've been kind of plodding along a little bit in terms of my wellness, and I'm a guy I've got to have something to kind of keep me entertained whenever I'm working out, right? I've got to have a goal or something that I'm working towards. Hey Mike, how you doing, bud? Thanks for joining. But I've got to be entertained. I've got to be playing a sport. I've got to be working towards something or having a little fun with it. But before I get too far into that, as Mike popped on, I know Mike's calling from Spring, Texas. That's my old stomping grounds. If everybody that's joining, if you could down in the comments section, just type what city that you're calling in from, and let me take that moment to send a thank you out to everybody, because I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, getting on and sharing information and talking, and sometimes just being a knucklehead. But I'm pretty humbled that I went from a couple of hundred to, on a couple of these things, I'm up over 1,000 on the views. So with that, I know that there's a more diverse group of people that are tuning in throughout the nation. I don't know that I've gotten international with any viewers yet. Oh, I think I've got one that's down in Australia, maybe two. Hey Jessica, hey old Cito's crew, I remember you well, Jessica. Jessica worked with me at Papacito's #2. Down in Houston. That was the second Papacito's restaurant. If you get to Houston, the absolute best Mexican food still, in my opinion, and that's saying a lot down in Houston. So anyway, good segue, food, fitness, back into what I was talking about. So if you're like me, I can't just go out and run for the sake of running. I can't go lift just for the sake of lifting. I'm not that guy that wants to sit and flex in the mirror and send that out to everybody. I tend to get more engaged if I'm either competing for something or I have a goal, right? So to get me off my butt, and frankly, the 22 for 22 push-ups that I've been doing has helped do that a little bit. I'm like, you know what? If we can do this and get excitement going with everybody, I'm going to start working on something a bit more personal, an aspirational goal. So with that, I'm signing up for the Tough Mudder. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, and I know this is backwards, right? But it's you guys have probably seen, what is it? They've got like the, what's the Viking one where everybody's got the horns and the fuzzy hat. Anyway, it's a mud run, right? They've got the Conquer the Gauntlet, all different varieties. Well, this one's pretty cool because it's about 10 miles with like 20, 25 obstacles. I can't remember. But pretty challenging. And what I also like about it is it's not about winning or competing as much, but it's kind of a team approach. So I like the teamwork aspect of it. But this is something I think that's going to compel me to stay motivated to get up in the morning whenever I don't really feel like getting up and working out or running or whatever the case may be. This is going to help me do it. The other thing that I think that it does, though, is that it has some things to help you prepare. And let me talk about that for just a minute, right? So for me, when it comes to getting fit, dropping weight, whatever the case may be, I'm okay getting motivated around, like I said, if I got something to work towards, like this Tough Mudder, that'll get me into the gym. That'll get me running. What I still struggle with a little bit is, and we probably all know this, and as we get older, we hate hearing it, but the diet is the most important aspect of it. All right, so what you eat. And so I remember the first time that I ran a half marathon. And, I'd really only run 5Ks up to that point. Oh, sorry, Warrior Dash was the one with the horns I was trying to think of a minute ago. But anyway, I'd been doing like Warrior Dashes. I've been doing 5K, fun runs, kind of stuff, just kind of competing with myself a little bit. Because I'm not a runner, right? I was kind of a sprinter and not even a really good sprinter. But, so I did not even fathom the diet aspect of the preparation for that race. And I probably didn't even do the running part right. But I made a couple of fatal errors, not ever having done one. One, I went out and bought brand new shoes to run in. And I thought, hey, that'll be great. I'll have brand new shoes to run in. Well, I didn't factor in the fact that they would rub the back of my feet the whole way and completely tear into them for 13 miles. The second thing, though, was I did not eat properly at all. I didn't eat properly leading up to the race, and I darn sure didn't eat properly on the day of the race, right? So now, as I'm preparing, I'm kind of working ahead and doing a little research so that I don't make that mistake twice. So do me a favor, down in the comments section here, type a 1 if you've ever run a long distance race, like let's say a 10K or a half marathon or even a marathon. Okay, put a 2 if you're an absolute stud and have either done like a half Ironman or a full Ironman, because those people to me are just absolutely amazing. So put a 2 down there in that section. I'm curious. And then type a 3 in the section if you made the same mistake that I did in terms of not really preparing properly for your first one. And then type a 4 if now you do have a bit more of a structured regime or a structured regimen, rather, in order to prepare. So this one's mine. I'm going to try to be conscientious that I'm eating the right stuff leading up to that. So that's kind of a micro look at this. The macro is that, guys, I'm not getting any younger. And I'm trying to do this so that I can get fit in spite of aging and, your body just doesn't burn calories the same way it did when you're 18. We all know this, right? But anyway, back to the Tough Mudder. I like that because it's going to help me. So it gives me all the workout stuff. And it's backwards, but this is day 1 through day 7 each week. And it'll give you a couple of months right up in this corner. This says like, hey, this is with 3 months to go. And then, until race day, you now have 2 months to go. And then finally, you're on the final month, right? So the work gets, I'd say progressively harder. But more importantly, it kind of puts you in the right zone of development or wherever you need to be to perform optimally on the day of the race. So I have this and I'm following it, and that's all really great. Okay, but again, this is about this event, and the reason I'm doing the event is to just try to become more fit. And so part of me wants to share that journey a little bit for a couple of reasons. One, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So if anybody views that as an inspiration of any type and goes, hey, Sean's doing this, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to try to sign up and do something like that myself. I got to tell you, though, I'm not real keen on the before and after photos. I don't know that it's my ego as much as don't like seeing myself on camera or in photos to begin with, much less shirtless with about 15 pounds of extra dough around my midriff. So maybe I'll take one and then later show the before and after, but I don't know that I'm just putting the fat guy photo out there and then coming back, 3 months later or whatever with the change. But, and you're probably saying, thank you, Sean, sweet heavens, we don't want to see that at all. But again, the point that I want to make is, again, the working out part, I don't struggle as much with. My personal struggle is with the diet. One is the ignorance of it. I'm just not knowledgeable what the right thing is to be eating. But then, let's be honest, the right food sometimes just sucks. It's just not good sometimes, right? So, so figuring out how to do that, have some discipline around eating without getting completely burned out and then falling off the wagon entirely, and then it's just this, downhill snowball effect of losing your momentum and losing your dedication and the energy level that you need to stay amped up for the event. So I'm saying all this to one, not only kind of bring in the fitness factor, just because I do want to share that journey a little bit with you guys as I go through it again. If anybody could be inspired by me, I'll put it out there. I turned 47 this year, so if I can do these things at 47, if you're in your 20s, mid 30s, earlier 40s, and you're watching me do it, then trust me, you can do it. So I hope that you're motivated that way. But the other aspect of this, as I said at the beginning, is that organizations, they too can take on a personality like people, right? And you might call it a culture. And I think that performance of that team or of that group or of those employees has a heck of a lot to do with that personality or that culture. And so you can either kind of sit idly by and allow that culture to form itself, or you can kind of step in conscientiously, intentionally, and you can start to form that culture yourself. You can direct that culture how you want it. Okay, in a bigger organization, that can be a bit more challenging, because there's the macro micro in terms of what that culture looks like. And sometimes you have more or less impact on who's on those teams and how they go about selecting people on those teams. But if you're a small business owner, right, or if you're in network marketing and you're building your downline, you often have 100% control over what that team looks like. And as such, then you've got, a very disproportionate amount of control over what the culture of that team is like. And then hopefully, if you do this right, then you can impact the performance level of that team in the right way. And so a lot of people talk about, well, how do you manage performance, or how do you give people incentives to perform, or how do you, if you're having a down month, how do you get everybody rallied and do a turnaround, or whatever that looks like. And I would tell you that while you can do all that stuff's all kind of after the fact, right? I would say the biggest and most impactful opportunity that each of us has to impact performance that way is around selection. Okay. Who are you selecting to invite into your team? who they are as an adult. I mean, guys and gals, the reality is it's much more difficult to change somebody's mindset or behavior as an adult than it is as a kid. And the reality is, you got to be, you're 16, I think, to get in the workforce. But let's be honest, most, you're talking probably 18 and older for most employees that you guys are seeking out. I think it's a bit egotistical. I really do, to think that you're going to change somebody that much as their boss or leader or whatever the case may be. You may be able to impact them. You may be able to enlighten them, but you're not going to change them. They're going to need to want to change themselves. So they're pretty much who they are when you get them. And this is my point, is selection is critical of who you put on your team. So with that being said, I've got I'm kind of tying it back to what leads to a disproportionate factor of your wellness of the individual is what you eat, right? Your diet, what you eat. And so kind of keeping with that, an acronym for what's best for organizations is how you select. I would say it's what an organization eats, or eat, which is going to be the acronym I'm going to use. So what's the E? And you guys, hopefully you're proud of me. I figured out how to turn around my printer, so because the text is backwards on Facebook Live, bye-bye, now you guys can read it. So the E in EAT is an entrepreneur's mindset. So what are we talking about there? You can interview, or if you know somebody already, you know that there are different types of people, and none are better than the other. This isn't a qualitative statement on people to say good, bad, right, wrong. But again, it's about being thoughtful. As you're selecting your team, you got to put the right people in the right place for the right reasons at the right time, right? So if you're fielding a football team, you don't want to go out and draft all quarterbacks, or you have a field full of quarterbacks and you'll be all set at the quarterback position, but they may not be the best fit for those other roles, right? And so that's what I'm saying is right person with the right skill sets at the right time. So as we think about that entrepreneur mindset, and I'm talking right now probably more for our network marketing folks, because that's the space that I'm operating in right now. You want them to have that entrepreneur mindset because you don't have the time, nor even if you did, your time isn't best spent chasing your downline around, making sure that they're doing what they need to be doing. All right, you want your downline people, the team that you recruit, you want that team dynamic so that you're working together. Absolutely. You want to be sharing resources. You want to be replicating and duplicating what you're doing as a team. One team, one dream. But it is a mistake if you think that your time is best served chasing people around, having them do what they need to do. All right? So they need to be entrepreneurial in terms of they need to want it for themselves. They need to be in a situation where they want to treat it like their own business, because that's what it is after all. If you are in the network marketing space, you are essentially running your own small business. And frankly, that's precisely what I'm doing. I've set mine up as an LLC, and I'm treating it exactly as a business. Okay? So, the other thing about that entrepreneur mindset isn't just the self-starting aspect of it, but it's kind of that drive, that energy, that vision, the goals, where they want to take it, and what that impact has on them, the fulfillment that they get by owning it, right? It's about that ownership, because it's okay if you work for a big corporation. Big corporations, some of them take really good care of people. A lot of people, it's more rare than it was probably when my dad worked for a big corporation, but Used to be you'd go spend 40 years and the company would give you some big fancy pension and you'd make money all the while, and if you managed it properly, you could ride off in the sunset. Those days are fewer and further between now. Hey, Donese, Greg, Balky, thank you guys for joining. But those days are fewer and further between, right? So I think you're seeing more and more people with that entrepreneurial spirit, that entrepreneurial mindset, that are looking at that opportunity and going out and making the most with it. So I think that, you know, the letter E, again, is that entrepreneur mindset of the people that you want to be selecting for your downstream folks. The A, and I'll call this action or achievement orientation, okay? And, you know, kind of a mantra that was shared with me early in my career was hire athletes. And so for the A, I'm gonna use the hire athletes in a more literal connotation of that word. So hire athletes. Why would we hire athletes for the action or achievement orientation aspect of that? Well, I'm not saying that you need to be an athlete to have these attributes. Okay, so I'm stereotyping a little bit. I'm not lumping or you know, culling people out of this group to say that if you're not an athlete, you can't have these attributes. But I would say disproportionately, most athletes tend to be self-starters in terms of that they are motivated or passionate about the sport that they're in. They typically have had to drag their butts out of bed to go do the workouts. They've had to eat a certain way to stay fit. They've had to show up, be to practice on time. They're in a situation where they don't want to let others down around them left and right on a team, right? But the biggest thing I think is that they are achievement oriented in terms of well, some don't, I guess, but most want to win. They are competitive people. They set targets. They have action plans. They have strategy, but most of them have an insatiable desire to win. And when you hire those people, they tend to bring that into the cultures that they work in. You see a lot of them will be in sales, things like that, where they want to go out and just crush it. So when you're building your team, when you're building your downline, why would you not want that? Again, you don't have enough time in your day. And if you do, again, I would say you're misspending your time, to be chasing people around, trying to keep them motivated, trying to keep them up and doing what they need to be doing to help them grow their business, which in turn will help you grow your business. Okay. The other connotation, though, of hire athletes is a bit more of a metaphor. And so we use that for the final T, which is the talent that you're looking for. And by talent, I don't mean the people. I mean the ability or the skill. Okay? So when you're talking talent and ability versus skill, let me differentiate those a little bit for a minute. So an ability or an inability would mean that you can or can't do something physically. Okay, so slam dunking a basketball on a 10-foot rim, as an example. I don't have that ability. Subsequently, I don't have that skill. Okay, but short of you putting a trampoline underneath that, and even then I might still struggle. I don't care how many hours that I put in the gym jumping at a hoop. I don't care how many squats that I get underneath the bar at the gym and do to increase my leg strength. I'm telling you, it is not going to happen that I'm going to levitate this fat guy up and put a ball down into a hoop at 10 feet off the ground. It is just not going to happen. I don't have that ability. And if I don't have the ability, I damn sure don't have the skill. So if we can borrow from a golf analogy for a minute, hitting a hole in one. Do I have the ability to hit a hole in one? Yes, I do have the ability to hit a hole in one. Have I ever done it? No. I've come that close on multiple occasions, which tells me that with a little bit of luck, I do have the ability to, from the tee box, swing a club, hit a little white ball, send it, 180 yards, whatever the case may be, and put it into a hole. Now, do I have that skill set? No, that clearly I haven't done it yet, right? If I had the skill set developed, that would mean that I took my ability, practiced, really worked at it, and then was able to, with some degree of repetition, achieve the objective, which is hitting the hole in one. So no, I don't have the skill, all right? Now, if you look at somebody like Tiger Woods, does he have the ability? Hell yes, he has the ability. And does he have the skill? Absolutely. He's made a heck of a lot more hole-in-ones in his lifetime than I have in mine. So now that you kind of understand the difference between skill and ability, I want to talk about that T and E for the talent, right? So think about ability versus skill. If you go out hiring for skill, I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily, okay? What I am saying, though, is that if you're fishing, you're casting a much smaller net in terms of how many fish that you're going to be able to pull in. Okay, so think about that for a minute. So I would propose that you recruit for ability and then teach the skill rather than going out and trying to find the skill. So one, there's a lot fewer people with that skill that's already developed, so you're going to pay a premium for it and or not get that talent at all because there's so many other people vying for it. But if you go out and you get somebody with the ability and then you train and develop them to have the skill and then do your best to hang on to them by nurturing their success, that is what I would argue would be a smarter approach. So what do we mean when we say that? Let me use LeBron James for a minute. And let's say hypothetically that you guys are the head coach for the United States national men's Olympic volleyball team. Okay. To my knowledge, I don't think that LeBron James has played competitive volleyball. Not that I'm aware of, but for the sake, let's just agree he hasn't. Okay. So if I'm looking through and I'm culling through and I'm trying to find ability versus skill, if I'm looking strictly for skill, I might skip right over LeBron's imaginary resume because nowhere on it would it say that he'd been on a men's volleyball team, much less played competitively at the national or world level. And we'll go right by him. Whereas, if my paradigm is thinking in terms of going out and getting ability, well, let's look at LeBron James for a minute. And I don't know how much or how little you guys know about volleyball, but a men's volleyball net, the top of the net is 8 feet high. Okay? So when you're looking at LeBron James, I probably should have looked up his specific measurements, but I think the dude's like 6'6", so it's the top of his head's almost there. For me, on my tiptoes with my arms fully extended, I'm hitting the 8 feet, right? And I'm 5'10". So that guy's arms are already a foot over the net when he extends to begin with. To put it further into perspective, I think that I probably have, it used to be higher, but I probably have about an 18-inch vertical at the most. It used to be higher. But you're looking at LeBron James, who's probably vertical leaping somewhere closer to the 36 to 40-inch range. Maybe more. I don't know. But so think about how naturally tall the guy is. And then you add that other, additional 2 feet of vertical that above and beyond what some hack like myself can jump. And think about just how high that guy's getting off the ground. And then think about the size of a volleyball and think of the size of his hands. All right. His wingspan. I mean, Why would you not want that guy on your volleyball team? Because I promise you that with his athletic ability, his ability to run, his hand-eye coordination, just his freakish physical attributes, that with very little time and effort, you're going to get that guy playing volleyball at a world-class level. Okay, now LeBron James is a terrible example, of course, simply because you're going to pay out the eyeball to get him to play for you. But the point is, you might find in someone the ability to do what you need them to do that doesn't have that skill set or maybe that history. So what do those people look like? Well, if you're looking for somebody with an entrepreneurial mindset, that's competitive and action oriented, I'd say that real estate agents would be great people to talk to in terms of helping build downline for network marketing. Have they done network marketing per se? No, maybe not, right? But I mean, they have all of the ability to do what we might need them to do. People that have done straight up sales in other companies, I think that those would be excellent people. So I think you guys get the idea, right? But that's really all I had. I do appreciate, again, all the people that I say dial in. You guys have dialed in. But hey, Fernando, how are you, man? Out in Florida. I hope, again, that I'm sharing some stuff that resonates with you, that works for you. If nothing else, gets you thinking. Again, the fireside chats are fun and a little bit less serious, right? But for these, I really want to start working on content. And I'm going to put a link out for what's called a Survey Monkey. It's just a tool to allow people to take a survey to try to get an idea of what type of content that the people that are tuning in to listen to me speak might like to hear. Okay, and then hopefully that'll help me gear my content more closely to my audience. But with that, again, just wrapping up again, in terms of the eat, you've got to eat properly for both your personal fitness needs, but also for the needs of your organization. And that organization eat, again, is that entrepreneurial mindset, the action or achievement orientation, and then your talent, whether it's you're looking for ability or skills, and kind of timing around that. Red Smith, thanks for joining, bud. Good to see you, man. Enjoy all your stuff online. But anyway, that's all I have. As always, down here, if there's something that I've said today that you think would be of value, either for yourself or for others in your network, I always appreciate it if you share that, because you never know who you're going to touch with these messages. So you might be listening to it going, man, I don't know that anything Sean said really applies to me very much, but you never know who it is that you might share this with throughout your network that might get a great deal of value from it. So if you don't mind, just down here in the bottom, being a great deal to me if you hit share. Again, at the beginning, I asked you guys to type in what city that you're tuning in from. If you do that again, just before popping off, if you haven't already, down in the comments section, let me know what city and state that you're calling in from. Again, that selfishly, that helps me kind of understand the scope of my audience a little bit, and then always allows me to help try to tweak my content creation. So that's all I have for today. You guys, Tammy, how are you? Good to see you. I think you're still in Houston, Tammy. Brett Boucher up in New England, Connecticut. I don't even know if UConn's in it this year. Are they, Brett? I don't know. Typo 6, Brett, if UConn's still in. But I do know, if you guys are watching the tournament, man, there's been some real bracket busters that have taken place. I'm a Sooner fan. I think you guys can probably see my thing back here. They, like me, are on the couch. So hopefully they got their diet and workout regime ready for next year. Anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate your time, and I look forward to chatting at you next time. Take care.